Okay, so today is the 6th of June 2022, and we'll talk about two architects. We'll begin with a German architect, Johann Conrad Schlaun, and he was a Baroque architect and a German architect, born in 1695 and died in 1773. Just a second, because I need to advance here the slide and for some reason. Okay, Johann Conrad Schlaun, as you can see, born June 6, was a German architect. His designs include the Erbdrostenhof and Schloss, both in Münster. There isn't a lot of information on the British Wikipedia, but the German Wikipedia has much more information. This was the man with a funny nose, if you ask me, but a very important German architect. He even became a statue, you know. So please expect to become a statue if you become famous. Here he is. It's a commemorative, you know, announcement about him. I think on the wall of the Johann Conrad Schlaun school in Germany. He even made it on a stamp, and this is the supreme homage that the postal service does to someone, you know. So please attempt to be to make it to a stamp. That would be nice now to have architects on stamps. I personally don't think any architect yet made it in Romania on a stamp. Anyway, so I can read this because I don't know German, but it is a church. Kirche means church in German, 1724, 1728. Here it is. It's a rather moderate Baroque. The interior probably is much more, you know, rich. Another Kirche, another church. This one a little more explicitly Baroque, also towards the outside, meaning, you know, more exuberant with more ornamentation and so on. Now this is a city hall. No, I'm wrong. It's not a city hall. I don't know what it is. It's probably some kind of, I don't know what rich house means, but I like this. I like this project very much by him. This building, you know, it probably has a you know, a secular function, a prosaic function, if I am to call it so, but it is. It is, I think, inspiring, even perhaps for our time. You know, it's a symmetrical facade, but it has, you know, the curvature of the sloping roof, and you know, it's very well balanced actually, and the brickwork is exquisite. So please think, if you use brick to you know, to be as creative as possible, because brick allows it. What is this? Large urban building, kind of a palace, but to me this is more morose and perhaps even affected by rain. Another building by him, 1764. So he built approximately, well, a little more than 250 years ago. Kind of similar with what we saw, not in the previous building, but the preceding one. Anyway, so mid 18th century in Germany. This is a castle. Schloss means a castle in Münster, 1767, 1787. So again, 250 years ago, and the castle it is, imposing and so on, but a little bit severe still, although it is Baroque, a little bit dark, but maybe because the sky is not blue and the sunlight doesn't touch it to enhance its, you know, facade. Another church, Dickburgkirche, a chapel and the church, a little bit hidden by the tree. So we see on the right the church, and I imagine on the left the chapel, a moderate Baroque architecture. Now, what is this? Another house in Münster, 1749. This might have been the gardener house on the estate of an aristocrat. I wouldn't mind living there if I had a chance, but it was probably destined to to someone, or the gatekeeper of the estate or something like this. By the way, I don't know if you know, but Savoie, Villa Savoie by Le Corbusier also has a little building for the gatekeeper, kind of mimicking the architecture of Villa Savoie. Usually when we look at Villa Savoie, we only see Villa Savoie, but there is a small building at the entrance to the estate, which is similar in architecture, much smaller and more modest, less exuberant. Yeah, that belongs to the gatekeeper. Now, what is this, a college or something? Yeah, a college it is. Colleges have to be a little bit imposing to, make the students behave, because, too exuberant students could be a danger to the educational system, and we don't want that danger. I'm a little bit sarcastic, of course. Anyway, another church. This man built a lot, and I learned about him just about 2 years ago or so. Another kirche, another church, but this one doesn't look like a church. Actually, it's no. I think Schloss is a castle, but maybe it has also, no, I don't know. I know Kirche means church. Kirchen might mean something else, or Nordkirchen. Anyway, it is a kind of a villa castle. This one is rather pleasant, although it is large and monolithical, because of the, these terminations left and right, which are decreasing. And so there is a certain curvature that the whole building seems to suggest. Another castle in Augustusburg, and the castle it is, and so is the reflection of it in the lake. Some people lived well, what can we do? Life is not fair. Some people are aristocrats, some people are proletarians, and some in between. And here we have another castle, again, mid 18th century. Here we see the Baroque more explicitly present, left and right. And what else can we say? The Baroque usually, enhanced, some fluid elements, not in the sense of total fluidity or fluid totality that Zaha Hadid published 2 books about, but artistically endowed with sculptures, with decorations, and so on, sometimes quite exuberant and even heavy. This is, I don't know what it is. It's a square, and I don't know if he designed all the buildings around the square. Well, I like it. I like the square. It's and the size of the buildings, which are not taller than the trees, which is a good thing. Usually we don't think any longer about such matters, and we want our buildings to totally ignore the size of trees. But maybe the trees should suggest to us to be less ambitious and kind of, remain a little bit low key if possible. I think this is a very urbane and pleasing square, surrounded by the buildings that we see it is surrounded by. And it's possible he designed the buildings as well. What is this? Another little building, these buildings are not totally foreign to me, because I was born and grew up in Sibiu, and Sibiu has, influences coming from the Saxon world, from the German world, from Austria, and so on. So, this kind of building with oblongs and all the rest can be found in Sibiu as well. Talking about oblongs, I think oblongs are very useful, and I would encourage to be used again because they not only they protect from noise and dust and so on, but they could create also very interesting facades. They have one negative aspect that, well, not necessarily, you don't have to do them necessarily in wood, although they would be nice in wood, but I think we should abstain from cutting down trees, at least for some years. And but oblongs, because of the variety of the movement, depending on what the inhabitant of a certain room wants, creates a dynamic facade. And the functions are quite useful now to protect against noise, against excessive, perhaps sunlight and dust and so on. Another castle, again, the same German architect who was born on this day, the 6th of June, well kept. Well kept is probably some kind of a kindergarten here, or I don't know what, or maybe not. I don't know. Anyway, people enjoy themselves in front of the, if we can call it, castle. Another church, the interior, he did the altar, and yes, it is Baroque, but still, it's in no way close to Rococo. It's a well-balanced Baroque, if we can say something like this. Another castle, this one, I don't know if the word castle is quite appropriate, but that's what Schloss means. The Germans keep their buildings very in good shape, as you can see. I don't know what this is. This is a small castle. This almost makes me think that this is the house where the great German poet Hölderlin lived. Well, for many years, about 20 years, being mad, and clinically mad. And he was housed in something like this, in a tower near either a river or a lake or something, by a generous man. And he spent them a long time, as I said, being incapacitated by serious illness. A famous German poet, very famous. So Hölderlin. But Hölderlin, together with Goethe, and together with a Romanian poet, a poet who was born in Romania, but we don't talk about him too much, and that's very sad, Paul Celan, or Paul Celan in French, because he actually committed suicide at 50 in Paris, throwing himself in the Seine. But Paul Celan, or Paul Celan, was truly a formidable poet. And I read he was placed in the vicinity, so to speak, in the same grouping with Goethe and Hölderlin, the one I just mentioned. So please try to read poems by Paul Celan, P-A-U-L, Paul, and then Celan, C-E-L-A-N, Celan. Okay, other buildings. Yes, the same architect. The interior, yes, Baroque through and through. He didn't do the paintings, another kind of Schloss. And this one as well. This architect was busy, as you can see. And I would say his work is very good. The gardens were designed by him, but I don't know, they might have been done later, I don't know. Again, major buildings by this architect. And the buildings stand, they were not destroyed by the Second World War, and this is almost a miracle. No, that's not him, of course. Anyway, so another church, and this building, I don't know what it is, some kind of a house. But it's nice, I would say, in its own, sweet way. The sculpture here is not by him. It might be by Richard Serra, the North American sculptor, a very important sculptor, but the building is. Look at the interior. This is more than Baroque. This is, Rococo through and through. Very heavy, of course. The minimalist trembles, but those with this kind of sensitivity rejoice. Can you make such a room today in your buildings, in your projects? My question is, why wouldn't you? Although it wouldn't be necessarily sustainable, but it could be sustainable if you give some work to do to a painter, a sculptor, a tapestry person, there are so many artists who are jobless, who have nothing to do. The architect could call them in and create together with them something interesting. I'm sure many artists would appreciate it very much. Another castle, this is explicitly a castle, but not bad. 250 years ago. You see, there are books on him, Johann Conrad Schlaun. So please remember the name, Johann Conrad Schlaun.